All right. Hey, Joey. How are you?
Douglas, how you doing today? I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Let's see. You've got a book out called Among Kings, and you're also an award winning author of 21 other books and screenplays. Among Kings is a historical fiction, but are the characters real people? I was a little confused by that.
That's a great question because Among Kings is based upon a true story. So I've taken about 13 years of research on a true historical period, late 1800s. The story plays out in America, in Europe, and in Africa. And I've taken true historical characters, some of which we'll talk about today, but I've also created some fictional characters as well.
So technically, it can't be called accurate history if you add fictional characters, then, right?
Well, that's true, and so that's why we are calling it fiction, because there's some things we wanted to do with the storyline. Just like in impressionistic painting, you'll see the images, let's say, of Monet's bridge, but there'll be different colors added in. You see the shapes, but the colors are mixed, and so it is a fictionalized story, but it's based upon true accurate history. And so that our desire is for people to be intrigued by the history, to delve deeper into the story for themselves.
Okay, well, that's a good analogy with an impressionist painting because if you looked at something that Picasso did, it looks like a nude woman, except she's cut into three pieces and her body parts are facing opposite directions and things. But so, yeah, okay, I get that.
Right. Well, and if we think of a real common example like the Netflix series The Crown right now, which is so popular, you're looking at true history, but they've certainly fictionalized parts of the dialogue and some of the settings in the storytelling of the royal family. So that's where we see some similarities in what we've done here.
Who is the main character in Among Kings?
His name is William Shepherd. William Shepherd is a historical, true African American hero, and he went to the Congo in 1890, and he was the first Presbyterian African American missionary to go to the Congo. So he's the hero of our story, and it's in the Congo where he begins this incredible series of adventures with the white missionary partner that he was put alongside with, and that gentleman's name is Samuel Lapsley. So they begin this hair-raising tale of life together in the heart of the Congo.
How was he received in Africa? Was that confusing for people, the African people?
Absolutely, because this story is set during the Great Scramble for Africa when all of Europe was dividing up Africa and colonizing it.
Right.
King Leopold of Belgium, he basically stole the entire region for the ivory and the rubber trades. So when Shepherd and Lapsley arrive on the scene, it was mainly only white people in the colonizing efforts that went there. But when you look at the historical pictures of Shepherd, like I put his picture on the cover of the book, he wears white safari khaki gear. He wears a white pit helmet, and he's very dark skinned as an African American. He's not light skinned. So when you see these pictures, he is wearing these white clothes, and so the Congolese people, they called him Mudele Ndom, which meant black man in white clothes, because they'd never seen a black man wearing what would be a traditional safari outfit for white men. So he confused a lot of people really quick.
Did he gain any respect amongst the African tribespeople, or did they mock him for being, uh, I don't know, a sellout, for lack of a better word?
Right, right. No, it's and that's what makes this story really fascinating. Shepard very quickly became beloved and endeared to the Congolese people. One of the very first things he did when he got there, he and Lapsley came upon a village that was basically starving, because Leopold and his work and his atrocities, he'd just taken so much from the people. He ended up going hunting with Lapsley. They shot 25 hippos to feed this tribe. So as the years went on that he was there, he went on to discover a hidden African kingdom that was highly advanced. It was called the Kuba Kingdom. No white man had found it. Henry Stanley was a contemporary of Shepard's. Stanley had not discovered it. So he soon became what was called the African American Livingstone, and Livingstone refers to the Scottish missionary, Dr. David Livingstone, who was in Tanzania. So there's this whole cast of characters, both with the Congolese, who developed a deep respect and friendship with Shepherd, as well as the other contemporaries that were part of the world of that day.
So did he speak only English, or did he speak any of the tribal languages?
That's what makes this a fascinating story, because he actually learned the Kuba language. And this kingdom was a massive kingdom. It's really in the heart of the Congo. And the Kuba king had sent an edict out to all the surrounding villages in the kingdom. And the king had said that if any white person comes into the kingdom, they would be executed because of colonization and threats against tribes. Well, Shepherd learned the Kuba language over his 2 months of trying to find the heart of the Kuba kingdom, the capital. So when he arrived there, the king received him and said, "You must be one of our reincarnated ancestors, because there's no way an outsider could, one, speak the language, and two, there's no way an outsider could find their way into the kingdom." And because of that discovery of the Kuba kingdom, when Shepherd returned to London, he was awarded as the first African American. He was inducted into the Royal Geographic Society, and he actually had tea with the Queen of England, who also just happened to be King Leopold's cousin. So there's all these twists and turns in the story. But to answer your question, absolutely, he won not only the respect of the Congolese people, but he became very famous for his discovery of the Kuba kingdom.
So at that time, this was after slavery, right? This would have been after the Civil War.
Correct, because Shepherd was born in 1865, the year that the Civil War ended.
Right, okay. And the Queen, I assume, would have been Queen Victoria, right? At that point?
She was. It was Queen Victoria. And what's incredible about these different time periods, you have the scramble for Africa, you have the Industrial Revolution, and there's this worldwide demand for rubber, for bicycle tires, for automobile tires, for wiring Thomas Edison's electricity across cities across the world. And then when Shepherd returns back to America in furlough in the early 1800s, the early 1900s, you have the induction of the Jim Crow laws. So it really begs this wild question of, with everything going on in Africa and the notion, the myth that all Africans were savages, Shepherd returns to the Jim Crow laws in America, and that begs the question, well, which is really the savage nation?
Right. I want to hit one of your talking points on your sheet. It says, how is the Congo past related to today?
Well, when we began research for this story 13 years ago, that led us up to present day Congo. And it's really curiosity that brought us to the story. But as we discovered that in the past 25 years in the Congo, over 6 million people have died through 2 Africa world wars. The UN has called it the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II. Everything that's going on in the Congo today, for all the mineral resources that they have there in gold and tin and tungsten and tantalum, everything that fuels our cell phones and our TVs, all of our technologies, what is going on in the Congo today, the trail and pathway leads back to over 100 years ago when Leopold first stole the Congo from the Congolese people. So there's a direct connection.
Isn't it the Chinese that are coming in there doing what the British did 150 years ago?
Absolutely. The Chinese have huge mineral rights for the copper mines. The Israelis have a big contract for the diamonds there. all of our, as I mentioned, all of our cell phone technologies are fueled by minerals that come out of the Congo. They estimate that in the Congo today, there is $2 trillion worth of mineral resources there. It's staggering.
Have you been to the Congo? Have you
I have. I was
traveled there?
there in 2015. Very good friends of mine, Congolese people by the name of Camille and Esther Ntoto. They run an organization there called Africa New Day in Goma, which is right on the border of Rwanda. And so they live and work in the Eastern Congo. They're involved with the UN. They have a great ministry, a church there. They do a lot of work with young leadership of young college-age people in the Congo. And the Congo is just an absolutely fascinating place, and is, for as much tragedy and hardship that there is there, the work of Camille and Esther and their team of people and some other really good nonprofits. There's good stories coming out of the Congo too. So that's what we're excited about.
Has Christianity helped or hurt the
That's a
people
great
in that
question.
area?
I think because I've been involved in ministry for most of my life, I think when you look at major institutions across the world, whether it's politics, whether it's law, or whether it's religion, you can find both points of light and points of darkness, because we're dealing with the human element throughout Christianity. We're dealing without the human element throughout law and politics, the medical world, the technological world. So within that, I think there's always people that exploit others. And at the other time, there's people that really live, in this case, Christianity, the good that they preach. So I would say it's a mixed bag, both good and bad, and there's always better work to be done.
I think some people who have embraced the true spirit of Christianity have benefited. However, there have been a lot of people in the past that have used it as a tool to manipulate and control the people.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so and that's why, especially in this day and age, when we look at any time a religious group, whether it's Christianity or any other group, whenever there's too close of an alignment to politics or to whatever government is in power, then you're mixing power and money and different darker motivations. And so that's where I think every person needs to guard against those things, so that there can be an authentic faith that's lived out. And so in the book, what I've really tried to do with Shepherd, because Shepherd has his strengths, but he also definitely has his weaknesses. So I don't try to sugarcoat some of the challenges he faced in his life. I just want real, authentic people who know that they have a need for God and they want to do good things for other people.
Okay, great. How's the book doing?
It's I've just begun the marketing efforts in the past couple months. We've got reviews coming in on Amazon, and a majority of them are very, very positive. A lot of people, both people I know and people that I don't know, say that it reads very visually and that they can see themselves in the story as they read. And that's my hope as people do read it.
Great. We do have to wrap this up, Joey. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Sure.
People can check out
my
you and the book.
website is www.joeyo'connor.org. That's O'Connor with an O-R, joeyo'connor.org. And Among Kings is also available on Amazon. You can just type in Among Kings and it'll pop up. However, on my website, I do have a lot of videos where I talk about the book. I talk about the characters. So there's a lot of interesting video material on the website as well.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Very fascinating story. And
Douglas, thanks for
best of